Planning and Development. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Byron, good morning.
Good morning, Todd.
It's good to have you with us here today. There have been so many developments in terms of business and the business climate here around Indiana County, just in a normal year, but certainly now things are changing rapidly, day by day, hour by hour, it seems. President signed the legislation over the weekend. Let's talk with you today about what it means for businesses here in Indiana County.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Todd. We have been going through a lot of the information that's being disseminated following the president's signature on Friday of the $2.2 trillion CARES Act, which is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act. There are a number of provisions in that, and I don't know how much time we have, but as you can imagine, it's pretty comprehensive legislation. Yeah. But I think the main takeaway is here that there is relief on the way. It's just a matter of the businesses getting organized to the extent that just in any other governmental program there is some information, but it's our understanding this will be a much streamlined process. These will be loans that will be issued. And there's a number of different avenues and different programs within this legislation, but primarily most borrowers, most businesses in need will be contacting their local lender, their local banker, and applying for a 7A loan program, and that's really the avenue to access these funds. It's our understanding over the next several days that the SBA will be providing guidance to SBA lenders, Small Business Administration lenders, and the costs that will be allowed to be incurred are rent, utilities, interest on debt, payroll and benefits, and that's a key. Is payroll and benefits, and some other costs. But essentially, what borrowers should be gathering information on is, what they typically spend over a 12-month period to run their business. The operational cost of their business in those categories that I mentioned, and companies. You would take that 12-month total, divided by 12 to get a monthly average, and then multiply that by 2.5 times. So what essentially the government's saying here is that the federal government wants to cover 2.5 months worth of your operational costs, and to try to get people over this hump. While businesses are being forced to be closed due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Obviously, we're not seeing a lot of it here, but thus far. But I think there's being prudent measures to do the social distancing and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have any specific questions from what I've said, but essentially, you take your monthly average 2.5 times. And they're going to ask for a lot of other documentation, like you would for any conventional type loan. But hopefully, within a couple weeks, businesses should be able to start seeing money if this all goes as has been advertised and as planned.
It takes so much to get a piece of legislation through, and it usually takes months to digest what it's all about and then learn how it's implemented. This is something that is lightning fast. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you, Byron, is when you have something like this particular act, when even the people who pass it aren't quite sure what's in it and how it will be implemented, there can be changes that come really, really rapidly. Have you had a chance to really look at what they were talking about last week or the week before, and then what finally was passed and signed by the president?
Well, yes, I've been glued to the TV, when I can. There's a lot of information flying, across the internet, and certainly as an economic development provider, we get direct emails, and been very fortunate to, have had some direct communications with our Congressman Thompson. Our U.S. senators have been sending us information. So we're getting direct lines of information, but by and large, I think the negotiations within Congress and with the President and Secretary Mnuchin, a lot of this, was done, in real time, and but to get a 96-0 vote in the Senate is pretty remarkable in this political environment, and certainly I think the major components. I know there was a lot of tugging back and forth, but I think that the key is here is to, I think the government looks at it, if people were laid off, and we saw the nearly 3.3 million, U.S. residents, apply for unemployment, I think last week, which is, record volumes, and certainly seeing huge numbers here in Pennsylvania. And the governor, forced some closures of some businesses. And so as a result, no fault of anybody's, we're in this situation. So I think the way that the government's looking at it is we put people on unemployment, we put people, on food assistance, or we put people on Medicaid. Those are all grants. Okay, so why not invest in our core businesses? Why not, invest in our I'm getting calls from hair salons and restaurants and retail, which typically don't call the planning office or the Center for Economic Operations for assistance. So this is going down to the bone of our economic climate and our economic system here. So we need to protect those businesses, and I think that's the attempt is to try to provide some immediate relief to these businesses. And when I say immediate, government, these are huge programs, as you mentioned, Todd. So, it is going to be a matter of weeks till money starts flowing. Yeah. But I think, at the end of the day, this and a lot of these loans, it's our understanding, will be forgiven. So if a company does draw in 2.5 times what it spends, and then on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, and then 2.5 months worth, and is able to spend that amount of money, it's our understanding the majority of that will be forgiven, if not all of that would be forgiven. If a company, for example, would draw down $50,000 on this SBA 7A loan, but only spend 35 of it within the 8-week period of time that they're talking about, then that extra $15,000, may become a loan. But why not invest in our businesses? Put some strings on it to try to avoid any kind of gamesmanship, but provide some business grants to these businesses in the form of a loan that can be forgiven, and keep the core nucleus of our economic, our entrepreneurship, our small business community alive, so that we can come out of this stronger.
We're talking with Byron Stauffer from the Indiana County Office of Development. And Byron, one of the things that has impressed me right from the very start is it seems like Indiana County was aware from a number of different angles about how difficult this was going to be. You and your Office of Planning and Development, the Chamber of Commerce, the Indiana County Center for Economic Development, you've all been working cooperatively with one another to make sure that we're as best able to address this as we can. And I don't know that it is the same case in other counties. I assume that they all have people working at them very hard as well. Talk, if you would, for a couple of moments about the community here in Indiana County and how you all work together to try to forestall some real difficult times.
Well, again, I appreciate that, because there's a lot of things going on. People are working a lot of extra hours to try to be there to answer all the questions that we're getting. But it starts at the top. Certainly, Senator Pittman, Representative Struzzi, I mentioned Congressman Thompson. I mean, just been phenomenally accessible in providing information. Our county commissioners have been working, to lead us through, this situation from a county government perspective. Tom Stutzman, emergency management. A big, huge shout out to our frontline healthcare professionals and IRMC and all the healthcare and the nurses and all the support staff. Just can't do this without people, putting their own personal lives at risk. So thank them tremendously. But at the CEO, we're very fortunate. You mentioned the Chamber of Commerce. You mentioned I'll mention the Indiana County Tourist Bureau. Denise Liggett, Mark Hilliard with the Chamber of Commerce, my staff here at the Office of Planning and Development, Angela Camposano and Dana Henry, and at the university. We're very fortunate to have a small business development center, and Tony Palamone. So a lot of the communications have been providing, just because we're anticipating such an onslaught of activity. So we're providing, if you're a chamber member, the chamber's accessible. You're a Tourist Bureau member, you obviously can call the planning office, the Indiana County Development Corporation, also part of the CEO will be assisting. There's another program called through the Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority. Pennsylvania's put together $100,000 working capital grant per business. And the state will look at 3 months back and 6 months for retail, with a 50% match, meaning the other 3 months would be matched, and that would go through the Indiana County Development Corporation, and we've also partnered with the Southwestern Pennsylvania Corporation to submit those loans to the Commonwealth, and I think there was about $61 million put forth there, and literally already hundreds of applications have been submitted to the Commonwealth for that program. There is also at the federal level, just very quickly, you can apply directly to the SBA, but did want to mention the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. All this information is available on our website, www.indianacountyceo.com. A lot of this is also on the county's website, indianacountypa.gov, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Tourist Bureau, the Small Business Development Center. We all have this information, and we're putting it out on all of our platforms, Facebook, Twitter, websites, all those kinds of outlets. But feel free also for residents and businesses to call our main CEO line at 724-465-2662. That's 724-465-2662. But I'll just remind, the residents and businesses, a lot of this 7A program, that will be accessible directly from your lender, from your primary bank. Mm-hmm. But if anybody, needs a referral that doesn't maybe have an existing loan with anybody, or, but any place that you have a depository relationship, they should be able to get you to the right people. But again, patience a little bit, but I would be calling and scheduling appointments, reaching out to get in line, because it will be an onslaught of activity. I did reach out to the lenders over the weekend and asking how they're going to handle some of this activity, and so we'll be coordinating that. So, but everybody's just going to have to be patient, but it looks like there's going to be relief coming.
Yeah. Wow. Good resources. Byron, been very helpful to us here this morning. It's like Indiana County got knocked down along with everybody else, and we're just trying to survive the round, get a breather between rounds, and we'll be able to come back out swinging.
Yeah, just ask, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and fortunately we haven't had a lot of cases, but nonetheless, we're feeling the economic impacts of it. But I believe, wholeheartedly that, we do have a strong sense of buying local, and support your local restaurants. Many of them are still open. Some unfortunately did close, but and then individuals will be getting checks directly as well, with certain income limitations. So I believe it's $1,200 per person, $2,400 married couple. I think the threshold's $150,000. So most people will be getting some of that on a married couple basis. I think it's under $100 or $90 some thousand if you're single, and then $500 a child. And so those dollars will be coming to hopefully get people get through this that may have lost their jobs. And then I know on the county's website there's a lot of good information about unemployment compensation and the numbers to call there. And so, but do not hesitate to keep checking back on our websites, and don't hesitate to call as well. And glad to assist anybody looking for assistance.
It's Byron Stauffer. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Byron.
I appreciate it, Todd. Thank you for getting the word out, and everybody stay safe out there.
Very good. Have a great day. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM, 101.1 FM, 101.